homeschooling your children really can look as beautiful as it looks on Instagram. Well, at least sometimes anyway. There are days when you spend the afternoons lounging on a picnic blanket reading to your kids while they make daisy chains. Your children really will have time to pursue the most obscure of interests and develop passions in things that they never would have had the opportunity to at school. And you will have an abundance of time together to strengthen and form close family bonds. But despite all of this, many home educating parents struggle with fear. We struggle with these doubts that nag at us in the back of our minds, that stop us from truly embracing and enjoying this wonderful lifestyle. There are also many people right now who, as summer is ticking along, are thinking very seriously about homeschooling their children from this August or September. But again, the fear is there, the doubts are there in the back of their minds, overshadowing all the research they've done. They know in their heart of hearts that this is the right thing for their family, and yet they're struggling to overcome fear. And so that is what I want to talk about today, is how you can overcome the fear you have around homeschooling your kids. Let's go.
This is Raising Mums, the podcast that raises up Muslim mums like you so that you can raise your children well. And here's your host, Dr. Gemma.
So I am coming off a bit of a high, so to speak. This weekend I had the honour of speaking at the Modern Miss Mason conference. It was an amazing event. The organisers really went above and beyond. It was beautiful. It was so great to be among so many like-minded mothers and also to have the opportunity to speak on stage, which really has been a dream of mine for a very long time. But as you can imagine, this was the first homeschooling conference I've ever spoken at, and so I was nervous. I had a lot of fear going on. Even before the event, weeks before, when I knew I should be preparing, when I knew I should be writing my speech, I found myself procrastinating a lot. Suddenly, things needed to be cleaned and dishes needed to be cooked that I'd never done before, just to avoid sitting down and writing the speech out. However, I did get it written, but the night before, I was tossing and turning. I was so nervous, I couldn't get to sleep. I just had this knot in the bottom of my stomach, worrying about what could happen. And then on the day itself, just before it was time for me to speak, I was nervous. I was afraid. I had to actually go outside before my talk and just get some fresh air so that I could calm myself down. There was a lot of fear going on. And the reason I mention this is because in all of that, I turned to 3 practices that I routinely use when I feel afraid, when I have fears coming up in my mind that might prevent me from doing what I know is right. And I want to share those with you today because I think that these 3 practices can really help you. If you are hoping to homeschool your children from this August or September and you're coming across a lot of fear in your mind, this can help. Or if you are already home educating and you constantly find yourself worrying about the future and worrying and afraid of what the impact of home education is on your child, then this is going to be a really helpful episode for you. So I encourage you, if you're able to just get a notebook, a scrap of paper and make a quick note as we go along. Or maybe just pull out your notepad on your phone and just jot these 3 things down as we go through them. The first thing I try to remember when I'm afraid is this is not about me. Fear and worry and self-doubt, that is all about us. It's about what we feel and what's going to happen to us. But if we can change the lens, if we can change the way we look at the situation and make it about the people we're serving, then all that fear melts away. For example, when I was about to speak to those people on stage, if I had just fixated on, I'm going to make a mistake, I'm going to trip up as I go onto stage, I'm going to lose my place in my speech, I'm going to offend somebody in the audience. If I'd have just focused on all those things about myself, it would have been very difficult for me not only to give my speech, but to do it in the best of ways. So instead, I reminded myself that this is not about me. I am not here for myself. I'm here for all the women, all the mothers who have taken the time to gather here together today. If I can serve them, if I can help them in any small way, then that is what I'm going to do. So when you're in your homeschool, when you're educating your children at home, make this about your children. And what does that look like very practically? It means renewing your intention, reminding yourself why you're doing this. You started this homeschooling journey not for yourself, but for them, for your children's best interests, because you believe it is what is right for them, and because you believe it is what is the right thing to do in the eyes of your Lord. And so that is why you do it. And when you put it in that lens, when you think of it from that perspective, all the fear melts away, because that vision is bigger than you. So point number one, if you're afraid right now to begin home education or to continue it, remind yourself, what is your intention? I'd like to pause here for a quick break and a message from one of the mums inside Launch Your Homeschool. This is Janine from A Gentle Art of Learning, and she has been a part of Launch Your Homeschool for a year now. Let's hear what she has to say.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Janine, a homeschooling mother of 4 children from the UK, currently in Solihull. I wanted to take the course mainly because I lack a little self-belief at times. Like a lot of us, I tend to overthink, and I wanted that justification that what I was doing was on the right track. I love everything in the course that relates back to our intentions and the Deen. I've learned not just about the resources to use, but how to structure my day better, manage my time more efficiently, and the community and classes alone has made the course pay for itself. I love how you can refer back to it at any time, and having that community of like-minded sisters can really work wonders on your mental health. I know her course would be encouraging and inspiring, as that's what Gemma does best.
Oh, thank you so much, Janine. That means the world to me. So if you are thinking about joining Launch Your Homeschool, I have some good news. Doors are opening at the end of this month, on Friday, the 29th of July. So if you are thinking about home educating your children, or if you have already started and you just feel like things are not going the way you had planned, then I would love to support you and give you the structure and the framework you need to succeed in educating your children year after year at home. If you'd like more information about Launch Your Homeschool and the incredible bonuses that we have this year, then go to launchyourhomeschool.com and pop your email address down, and more information will be sent to you closer to the time. That's launchyourhomeschool.com. The second thing I like to think about is, what is the worst thing that could happen? So when we're looking at speaking on stage, that's kind of obvious, and some of those scenarios are more likely than others. But what about when you're educating your children at home? What's the worst thing that could happen? I often hear people say, well, I'm worried that this is going to mess them up. I'm worried that my teaching is not going to be enough for them and they'll fall behind. I'm worried that they'll become socially awkward and they won't be able to make friends, and it will hold them back in their future. Well, friends, can we think about this a second? If you started to see your children falling behind, if you started to see them struggling in one of the subjects, what would you do? You'd make a change. You'd find a tutor, or you would change the curriculum, you'd find new resources. You would make a change before it reached that point. So I would suggest that that scenario is very unlikely. And the same applies with being socially awkward. If you feel like your children are heading down that route, you would do something about it before it got to the stage of affecting their adult life. So once again, I would say that is very unlikely. It often helps if you think about home education as not your plan for the next 10, 15 years, but just your plan for the next year or so. What is the worst thing that could happen in the next year or so? If you try to reframe it like that, often your fears that you had before will dissipate. Because when you do home educate, you're not committing to this forever. It is just for a little while. And if things work out, then you continue. And the final point is, I want you to consider, are you putting too much upon yourself? When you look at all the things that you need to do in the day, all the ways you need to educate your children at home, it can feel like a lot. And when you look inward and you see all your deficiencies, maybe you feel like you're not smart enough. Maybe you feel like you're not patient enough. Maybe you feel like you're just not enough. Sometimes it helps, in fact, it always helps, to remember that the success of your homeschool does not rely on you. Your success, your child's success, your child's education is from Allah. So instead of relying upon yourself exclusively, put your trust and your reliance in Allah. What does this mean? It means that, yes, you are flawed. Yes, we all are flawed. But you don't need to be perfect to educate your children at home. There is not a human being in the world today who is perfect. And yet so many of us are able to provide fantastic educations for our children within the walls of our homes. So stop putting so much pressure upon yourself and instead relinquish some of that control. And if you can, relinquish all of that control to the one who really does have a say in how this all turns out. Stop relying on yourself and put your reliance in Allah. So I think we'll wrap it up there. Now, over the next few weeks, we have some really great episodes coming out. We've got interviews and we've got some very practical episodes about how to teach certain subjects in your home. So I know you're going to enjoy that. So if you're not already following or subscribed to this channel, make sure that you do that now. Also, if you are interested in joining us when Launch Your Homeschool opens doors on the 29th of July, pop your name down on the waiting list. Just go to launchyourhomeschool.com. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Have a beautiful week, everyone. Assalamu alaikum.